Thank God we got past there. Good morning, everybody. All right. So today, I'm going to click on this. Got it. Today, we're going to focus on mentoring. Now, we have a nomenclature for mentoring that we use, and that is with inside of our brokers that a lot of us are partnering with eXp. We have a mentor program for our emerging agents, our name, which is our new agents that are coming up. But I want you to consider that this mentoring philosophy can be adopted with friends helping friends. It is not limited just to agents. It's also almost an accountability as well. So while there's a lot of you on here, and I'm really glad we're recording this because we'll be able to use it in school. And I'm going to focus primarily on the mentor program that we have and how I perceive that we should properly mentor. By the way, I am flat out open to suggestions on this. If there's something I missed, I challenge all of you to make it better and interrupt, jump in, and help out. I got a good syllabus. I'm going to follow it. Your input is the most valuable part of this entire call. So please, I'm welcoming all of you. Say, hold on, George, let's try that. Maybe that's not the best thing. Here's what I plan on doing when we're done with this. I'd like to give you a diagram on what a really good mentoring system looks like and the strategies behind it. And it's going to be a little different than you're probably expecting. There's a difference between mentoring and coaching. Mentoring an agent, in my opinion, is getting an agent prepared, ready to go, and up and running. Coaching is helping them business develop going forward. You need both. When I think of mentoring, I think of an agent that is a newer agent, an emerging agent. And what I want to do with them is I want to help them really, here's the secret part, make a choice. That's it. Now everybody's like, what do you mean make a choice? Well, think of it this way. You have to do the work or you have to choose not to do the work. And for all of you that are in real estate, everybody here, you all have already gone through this. You all know that this is not an easy job right out the gate. And in fact, getting your real estate license is not really the barrier of entrance. The barrier of entrance is what happens once you get your license. And quite honestly, in the first month in our world, and in most real estate brokerages world, the first 6 months. Now, we have set up a supplement to eXp's mentoring program, and I feel that it's a very, very strong supplement. In fact, what it does is it combines a whole lot of it. So I'm going to go through the mentoring program. I'm going to go through a lot of things in here, and we're going to talk about theory and mindset for the people that we're mentoring, for our new agents. Now, some of you are newly licensed agents and have gone through a portion of this or perhaps all of this. Here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. There is going to be an opportunity for everybody on the call. If you haven't gone through this process, if you're feeling you're perhaps not as ready to go as you should be, I want you to self-adopt some of these. Grab a friend and say, listen, just help me, hold me accountable. There is a very systematic approach to this that at some point can seem overwhelming. And to be fair, that's actually part of the design to some of it. But it shouldn't be as overwhelming as it probably is. So let's get started with this. All right. The goal of mentoring is to develop a successful agent. Now, we need to know our audience. And this is going to be pretty straightforward. God bless you. I have great respect for everybody on this call. But there is a high probability that the newly licensed real estate professional who's coming out, our emerging agent, has probably had 2 or 3 other jobs or careers in their life. That is just a statistical fact. What we're always looking for is evidence of success in those careers. Now, I am absolutely not willing to pass judgment on anybody's career. Mine was the restaurant business and a cook in the Army, okay? I mean, I'm not calling that raging success-driven. What I'm getting at is that we have the possibility that our audience is already trained to 9 to 5. That's a conversation we need to have. Who's your audience? We already may have an audience who hasn't been as successful and really not push themselves to strive in a past job. And when you're having a conversation with them, it's a good idea to know what they did. Here's the thing. There's a chance, a big chance, that the person you're speaking to perhaps is going to run into some struggles through this process. My goal is to make sure those struggles, and I hope yours is as well, that those struggles are because they're making conscious choices. not because they didn't have what they need. Now, I want to say that one more time. I want them to struggle with a conscious choice of I don't want to do the work, as opposed to nobody's helping me, or I don't have the work, or I don't know what to do. Because at some point I fail if I'm mentoring somebody. I fail if they don't have what they need. But remember, I'm also going to fail if I do the work for them. They have to do the hard work because, as we all know, unfortunately, this is a very challenging job, particularly the first couple of years. And then it becomes a wonderful career. With every business, you have to build it. And you're going to put forth vast amounts of effort before you really see the results. This isn't a one and done or a short-term game. There's no magic pill. Okay, knowing your audience. I also wrote down here, because I think it's real important, you have to be truthful. And the bottom line is, this is a conversation you can have, and we are going to encourage everybody to have when you're talking to a newly licensed agent. Say, listen, you have a greater than 50% chance of failure over the next 2 years. That is truthful. It's actually a lot higher. And I got to comment on this. I truly believe it is higher because agents don't have a way of moving swiftly into skill set. There is, Claire, I got to call you out just because you're always my go-to on this one. Liz as well. You two are my like wicked go-tos. Fair to assess that in a lot of other brokerages, as you've both been experienced, other brokerages, that it is really a 3 to 4 month process for them to really get to even a basic skill point through the ignition classes or generator classes or something like that. Do you have something you can add to that?
It's been my experience in our industry that our associates, until they have close to 10 to 12, 15 transactions underneath their belt, the confidence that they need to move forward isn't there. So it has to do more with the amount of transactions they do because they're into their contracts and into a group of people and had more conversations to be able to arise questions that we can help them overcome.
Outstanding. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Liz, do you have anything you want to add? Or are you good? Good, cool. Right on. All right. Claire, perfect. Dead on it. Folks, the people that are coming into this business, they need to do the hard work. And I wrote down, as I said, truthful is critical here. They're going to have to put forth a vast amount of effort, and they're going to have to do things that they're uncomfortable with. All right, so let's jump into it. The first thing I wrote down is with our brokerage, we have a phenomenal mentor program. I'm going to share what that looks like because quite a few of you probably haven't seen this before. And that's cool. It's a little challenging to see, but I think you'll get it. Now, I apologize for this, and I'm going to give you kind of an overview. Everything on the left-hand side of the screen, this is the back of the house for the mentors. Everything on the left of the screen is grayed out. You're not going to read it. On the right side of the screen where this circle is, there are 10 modules that we go through: business planning, time management, building a database, prospecting, lead generation, what to say. Everything is negotiable, working with buyers, working with sellers, state-specific content, which is specific to the particular state you're in, and review, share, and recruiting, building a passive income. Those are the 10 modules that are mentor modules. Is there a mentor that is currently on the call that would like to comment or talk about the validity of those? I have not gone through them as not an active mentor, but I know that that is a huge part of our syllabus. Awesome. This is something that the mentees have to do on their own. It is not something that's assigned by their mentor. It's assigned by EXP, and it goes through these repetitive skill sets. Great, as I said, working with buyers, working with sellers. There's another one that we have for our agents because we're so committed to our emerging agents. We're doing an 8-part series starting Thursday that covers time management, building your business, database, everything in here. We're actually doing a different view of it. Now, here's the part that's important. As a newly licensed agent that's just coming through the gate, if you're mentoring them, and just you can nod your head if you agree with this or shake your head if you don't. If you're mentoring them, wouldn't it make sense to say, listen, I want you to take every one of these modules because it's required, but I also want you to take every one of the ones that we did live in our masterminds, because doesn't it logically make sense that the more they get exposure, the easier it is for them to wrap their arms around it, to get familiar with it? Why wouldn't we duplicate and require of mentees, of new licensed agents, to take as much training as possible. In fact, we'll take it one step further. Fast Start is another program that's offered through our brokerage that is excellent. And that is another requirement for newly licensed agents. Now, we haven't even got really into what we do specifically, but I want to share this with you. This is Fast Start. Fundamentals, business planning, lead generation, lead conversion, database, sales, working with. Do you start to see a consistency? Because this is exactly the same thing that we teach in our 8-part series of emerging agents, which starts this Thursday. They get exposure from 3 or 4 different ways. It starts to sink in. They have more time than they have anything else when they are a newly licensed agent. They don't have a bunch of follow-up calls to make. They don't have listing appointments or buyer appointments. They're usually doing some scrambling. Big issues that most emerging agents have is time management. They have an issue with, all right, I'm going to do the hard work. A lot of times it's, oh my gosh, I want somebody to hold my hand. That's not the characteristic of a successful real estate agent. I need to have somebody, I want them to walk me through it. That's not how agents problem solve. Think about this. You've got a highly complex problem that's going on, and with, let's say you're buying some vacant land, but there's actually 2 pieces of property. It's not, oh my God, somebody help me. It's you're going to have to discover solutions, and you're going to have to make some phone calls. Now, that's, of course, extremely complex. Of course, you want some guidance, but nobody's going to hold your hand on that. A successful agent is a go-getter. A successful agent is somebody who's going to take the initiative, who's going to make the effort. You're looking for that in your emerging agent. Now, remember, back to the first principle, truth is important. If they don't have the ability or the drive to be a self-starter, there's a very good chance they're part of that 50%, and that's conservative, that may not be successful in this career. Please don't misunderstand me. I am not saying that that rules out success completely, but it's not the norm. It's not the high probability. I am always looking for a successful history of success go-getter who says, I'm willing to look a little foolish. Nothing's going to get in my way. If you meet somebody who's going to become a licensed real estate professional and they say, I'm willing to burn the boats, this is going to work, I would like to speak to them. That's exactly who we're looking for. And that's the person who's going to find that's going to go and go through their challenges and seek out the answers. There is, and I wrote this at the very top, the emails. Oh my God, the emails. So in our brokerage, if you're joining us, you're going to get a gazillion emails. We're getting into now what's involved with the contacting. Thank you very much who just posted that up there. For what the communication looks like with a newly licensed real estate professional who's joining the GPS Global Partners, and they're joining EXP, and we're going to put them in the mentor program. You got to let them know you're going to get a ton of emails. Oh my gosh, they're going to be everywhere. They're all very, very good information with information in there. The truth of the matter is none of it's really relevant. This is just between us. After their license is transferred, everything in the emails they get from that moment forward is incorporated in some way, shape, or form into the mentor program or into the GPS Global Partners checklist. The emails are valid. I don't ever devalue those. I said these are very valid. There's great information, but the right order and the right system and organized for you is in the checklist. Is there something missing? Probably. I have to own it. I'm sure that there's things that, because it keeps evolving. Hold on one second. Unfearful. Yes. Thank you, Robert. That is exactly right. TechBits just topped in on there. If you're not willing to get uncomfortable, you ain't going to do it. Folks, it's in the checklist, and it's in there on purpose because it gives you a place at which to go. So let's talk about what mentoring looks like in my world. And please remember, I am not the burning bush on this. This is a recommendation and a suggestion, and I wanted to put it out there, but there is some nuances built into this checklist. And somebody, Deb, I'm going to mute you if you don't mind, and Jamal as well, just so we keep the chatter on the back side quiet. All right. I have to say this because it's just it's important for everybody. If you've got a newly licensed agent and they want to get everything set up for them where they don't have to do it, mainly their KV core, their workplace chat, their workplace, all that stuff, you can hire somebody to do it, or you can bring them in the checklist under the KV core section, which is one of the bottom tabs. There's the whole thing on there and how to get it set up for you. Shannon Pyatt's my go-to. He's got 3 different costs, and let me see, these are what they are. It's like $97, $197, and then a ridiculously expensive $349. It's in the checklist under setting it up. I would have that conversation with newly licensed agent. That's one thing they don't have to worry about. They can focus on their actual skill set. Let's get their tools prepared. And it's fairly nominal at 97. You can't really go past it. When a newly licensed agent joins our brokerage and I'm going to be doing the mentoring or the coaching for that agent, or I am just their sponsor, I still want this same involvement. And I do this with any agent that joins us. If I'm sponsoring them, because I consider it my responsibility, I have to say it is not anybody's responsibility, but I take that on because I'm passionate and y'all are here. So I'm assuming you are too. I'm going to walk them through that checklist. Now we do this every day at 10 a.m. Every single day of the week, at 10 a.m. Eastern time, we do a checklist where we go through what that checklist is about and explains it in detail. Joe does it every day. He's there waiting at 10 a.m. for somebody to show up. I would challenge you strongly to invite your new agent, regardless of how good they are, how long they've been practicing real estate, to this just so they see it. Here's the secret truth for everybody that is not a newly licensed agent. Truthfully, there is 2 hours and 5 minutes worth of involvement of things they have to watch. And what they have to watch is how to use SkySlope, how to navigate around the world, some basic, simple things. And I reshot all those videos because they were all an hour long and you'd want to stick a fork in your eye. Liz, you have your hand up. What's going on, my friend? I just saw your hand up.
I was going to say, I think as experienced agents, what we should all unanimously do moving forward is every time we're mentoring someone or we're onboarding somebody during the mentorship program and they're coming to us and asking questions, it's, hey, how far are you on the checklist? Because more than likely the question that you have, it's going to be on the checklist. And then just bringing them back to being resourceful instead of always giving them the answer. So I think if we can all come into agreement instead of, hey, well, how do I get into SkySlope or how do I get into KV Core or anything like that? Well, how far are you on the checklist? Well, I haven't looked at it. Well, you need to go look at it kind of thing, instead of us holding their hand, as you mentioned before, to get them, to start getting them to be resourceful, because at the end of the day, we're all adults and we're all business owners. And we need to start acting as such. So I just wanted to put that out there as a suggestion that maybe we can all do that and make it a standard for us and go from there. And hopefully we can get our people to move up to the next level.
That's first off up. I had to go slow clap on that. That is just awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's so just needed to hear that. That was perfect. Tawanda, you got your hand up. Let's get your input on this and we'll get back to it after you guys. Thank you both so much.
George, can you send the link to that call? Good morning. Can you send out the link to that call? I currently have 5 mentees, and it would be great. I want to put that in front of them.
The tech, to put it up, the tech one, is that what you're talking about?
Whatever the clock call, correct.
Oh yeah, it was 10. Yeah, absolutely. The 10 o'clock call on the top of the checklist. There's a thing that says, right. Well, I'll show it to everybody in just a couple seconds, but right on the very top of the first page of the checklist, it says your onboarding call 10 a.m. and there's a link right there. So you have it already. Okay. It's in the checklist, of course.
Perfect.
In fact, I think we're gonna have to go to the checklist, but before we start diving into this too deep, I want to talk about this real quickly because I think it's real important. Well, I got to recatch myself where I was. Oh, so what I was saying with a newly licensed agent, you got a brand new agent or an experienced agent. The checklist, the only thing they really have to worry about is they've got about 2 hours worth of work to do. Everything below that line, below that first day 1 and day 2, is little add-on details that are not mission critical, but will definitely help them along as they go. This is the conversation I have with every agent, and this is the tool I use with every agent as well. So I'm going to show you real quickly, just jump over to the checklist. It'll be a little challenging to see, But what I promised you I will do is I'm going to kind of talk through it. Now, very specific to that question, you'll see on the very, very top line, it's where I'm way up on the top of this. It says link to onboarding meeting 10 a.m. and there's the password and there's the link. So every single day at 10 a.m., we've got somebody on those calls. There's a lot of things that I like to do before we get them fully squared away. Once their license is transferred, I want to literally follow this list. It says create a folder, log into eXp Enterprise with them. They have to get into Enterprise. I will hold their hand, walk them through this. I make sure they can log into SkySlope because I promise you their hair, I'm going to say this is so important. I make them log into SkySlope with me. I make them log into Enterprise. They need these two tools, mission critical, to be able to function. If they can't get into SkySlope, they can't get into that, nothing else seems to work. And now all of a sudden you've got this big problem. Now, this is very important for a licensed agent that's coming over that does a fair amount of transactions. And I would challenge you as you're sponsoring a very successful agent, say, listen, you just keep selling homes. You need to get into here. We're going to get in together to this one, to this one. I save it in a folder form. I do this maybe 40 times in my entire career. That's why I wrote it down, because I don't remember it. I create a folder form. I get them to Enterprise SkySlope. I opt them into KV Core because it's super easy. And now this is all literally right here for us to follow. And there's a short tutorial on the side of each one of these ones in green. There's a short tutorial on exactly how to do it. And then, of course, I log them into the world on their computer and I do a Zoom with them on their computer and I watch them go and ask a question. And I instruct them in their ear. I said, listen, go up to that desk, press the forward key, go to that desk, ask a question. Okay, that's important. When you're looking at this, by the way, if you've got a high D personality, this is really all you need to know. And that is that part in orange right in the middle. You can read it. I'm not going to dive into it at this point, although I do want to mention line 14 and line 15 are critical. These are eXp Care phone numbers. They will answer every question you have. I encourage you, strongly encourage you to ask whoever you're teaching, say, listen, I want you to call this number and ask them a question. Say, I'm new to eXp. What can I call and ask you about? And have them call both of those numbers. The first day, the first conversation, just so they know where that question and answer person is, and then have them save that phone number in there. This will save them frustration, and it only takes you a moment to do so. Now, I'm not going to go back to the checklist at this point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start talking about day 1 and day 2, the most important days for any agent that comes on to eXp. Does not matter who they are, licensed or unlicensed. Day 1 is SkySlope, orientation, navigation, live world tour, and a training. And all of that takes less than 1 hour. They could start at the top, click on the links, and go through it in 1 hour. Here's the important part. They're not going to remember it. Give them permission to not remember it. And this is mission critical for their success. So listen, you have to see all this. Just put a check mark by it so I can see it. You have to see all of it, and you're not going to remember it, but when you need it, you'll know exactly where it is and you'll get your immediate quick answer. Okay. Does it work for everybody? Absolutely not, but you have a higher probability of their success if that does it. Same thing with day 2. Day 2, there's a really long class in there that is actually we took it out. Never mind. No, we didn't. eXp World Training is a little longer. That's about an hour as well. Everything else in that checklist that goes lower on that checklist is little stuff like joining our referral network, joining into, just basically everything. Our state meeting to find out where your state meeting is. There's usually an orientation. There's a lot of great information in here that they should follow up with. That's standard. Now, what I also do, and this is the part that's important, I set up, and you should too, a 30-minute per week Zoom call, and it has to be Zoom, and it's the same time every week. If it's a new agent to eXp that is experienced, I would encourage that first meeting where you set up their KV Core, you opt them in for KV Core, make them log into Enterprise and in SkySlope. I said, let's set up a meeting every week for 30 minutes, and it's a Zoom meeting. The whole purpose of that is to go through their checklist. How are you doing? How are you progressing? Where are the questions? Now, remember, everything in the email, everything they're supposed to do is in the checklist. So this would be a guide for you to see how they're progressing. And as long as you encourage them, please use this, you'll know what they've done and, more importantly, what they have failed to do. Now, why do we set up a 30-minute Zoom? Well, the reason we do that, it's a Zoom call, not in person, Folks, pay attention to this. It's a Zoom call, not in person. And the reason for that is the focus is intensely on what's going on the screen. You cannot multitask to another conversation and everything else. If you're having a screen conversation, you have to manipulate with your hands. This makes a difference. It allows you to do this call in 30 minutes. It does not mean it's your only conversation, but it does mean that this is the conversation that's totally relevant and it's all about them. But what you're doing is you're seeing if they're doing what they're supposed to do. So I'm going to get into the NLP, the neuro-linguistic programming of how this sets up in just a couple seconds. But there is a question that comes up, well, I don't know how to do a Zoom call. If you look at line 29, I'm not going to bore you and cross your eyes by going back and forth, but line 29 is take a Zoom.us tutorial and create a Zoom account. You'll need a Zoom account week 2 as you invite your sponsor to the meetings. And then there's a short tutorial that shows exactly how to create a Zoom account and start a Zoom thing. So what they don't have, pay attention, is an excuse. I want to let that sink in for a second because I feel it very, very, very passionate about this. I want their only excuse to be, I chose not to do it. Because what it's going to do is it's going to tell you character, it's going to tell you drive and motivation. And why is that important? For all of you that are emerging agents that are brand new, you've gone through this already. We haven't necessarily practiced this exactly this way, but you probably experienced some of it, but I don't want to offend you. I really don't. But I would rather know if they're going to fail because they're going to provide a I didn't choose to do it sooner rather than later. And with great respect, the successful agents that you all are, where you're taking your time to invest in another agent, I would, personally, I would demand that you deserve the respect and the appreciation for your time. And that means they show up prepared. And if not, they're not only failing themselves, which is the biggest issue, but they're also failing you. And that's not fair to you. I'd rather you know that now and not 6 weeks later. I have a friend of mine. I love this person. I respect them greatly. And they are all about helping. And they are a mentor. And I'm not going to mention their names because that would be inappropriate. Unless, of course, they're not on the call. And then I'll gladly mention their name. No, I won't, of course. But they would have meetings with each of their agents face-to-face all the time. And it was 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. This 30-minute meeting was an hour and 15 minutes, and they couldn't figure out where all their time went. And they're pouring it into their agents, which is awesome. But they never really got to checking everything and making sure that progress was, in fact, occurring. It became a friendship, and that's awesome, too. But we have accepted a responsibility when we're trying to help an agent become successful of holding them accountable. And it's not a friendship responsibility at this point. That's where friendships come from and respect and everything comes from. But your time is so valuable. If you are going to bring on an agent, and I encourage you to do so, they have a scheduled time for follow-up. And that does not mean that's the only time you speak to them, but that's the time that they actually have to be accountable to. Are they getting the job done? And this is critical, folks. I'm looking at the checklist. I want to see that things are checked off, and I'm going to ask them questions. Tell me about this. What did you think? Well, Sky Slope, I kind of forgot where it is. Do you know where it is on your computer? Yeah, I do. You remember where this is in the class? Yeah, I do. So when that comes up, we can get you back and we can do a refresh on this, and I'll gladly help you, but you did watch it. Yes, I did. Okay. I want to make sure they're getting through this. I prefer that everybody gets through everything on the first page in the first week to week, and it may be a week at the most. If you're a newly licensed agent, and that's where we're going to spend the next 20 minutes, because that's where the rubber hits the road. Give me 1 second. The very first week is getting situated. This is all brand new. The real estate stuff is just freaking them out. They're getting a gazillion emails. Ignore them. It's on the checklist. Your number one responsibility is to get through day 1, day 2, and basically everything on the first page as a new agent. And you have to get access to the MLS. That is it. The most important thing you can do is get access to the MLS, get access to your super key, because nothing progresses without it. And if you're sponsoring an agent, I want you to let them know that is your number one responsibility. I must insist you get access to the MLS above everything else. But I also want you to do everything on the first page. Now, this is a newly licensed real estate agent. This is all new agents. So I want you to check off everything on here. Now, folks, just so you know, all this stuff right here is about an hour and 40 minutes. All of this right here, even more, actually less. Let's say that this is around 11, 12 minutes. This last part, 2 hours. At the bottom of this tab, there's a thing for KV Core. You want to know how to have it set up for you. There's a way to do it right here. Tiffany's about to change this, by the way, and put Shannon's in here. We have decided that this is not the best one to use, and it would be a little more challenging, just to kind of a footnote. Now let's go to newly licensed agents that first week, and I am going to go and use the checklist on this one. There's a video that shows about an agent timeline. I like to have them watch that when I'm doing it. And here's what it does. It says you can either spend 6 months before you get a contract, or we can push it into 1 month. That's what I explain in that first part there. And here's the reason why it's important to watch that. You want them to say, as they will, I'd rather do it in 1 month. I don't want to wait 6 months for my first check. I want to get started working. That is them committing. And committing is important because my ultimate goal is that they want to burn the boats and they'll do whatever it takes. Schedule with your sponsor, 4 weeks of calls. You see that? Now it'd be sponsor for me because I'm doing this, but the mentor has a role in this as well. And the agent's responsibility is to go out and seek this knowledge. And that's what we're going to push them to. They got to select a mentor, everything. And then the fast start, we're actually, Tiffany, you'll need to change this too. It's now go for fast start, line 8. On that part of it, you can look into it. All right. So the first week's over. We have our 30-minute call. I go through this list. I'm looking for, what have you have? What have you done? Have you gotten through all of it? Do you have the MLS? And their answer is, well, I didn't. I had things come up. I was busy. I did this. I did that. I had a hangnail. My dog had bad breath. Sorry, not you, Scott. You're good. That's an excuse. Now remember, we started off with, this is a busy job. And if you haven't said this, and it should be said, and it's actually written on here, this is a 50-hour-a-week job for the first couple of years. Period. It just is. Are you prepared for it? Yes, I am. You're willing to do the hard work? Yes, I am. You're willing to go down and do this. Now, here, give them the out. There's a lot of things you're going to do here that you're not going to remember. But when you need it again, your reticular activator will kick in and you will remember it where it is, and you'll have your answer. And of course, I'm here to help, but you got to go through it the first time by yourself. Okay, no problem. That first week, I'm checking up on them before we get started on Hell Week. And I'm like, so how'd you do? Well, you know, the dog, the hangnail, aren't those excuses? Y'all think about that. If you set somebody up, you know they don't have anything else. Let's pretend that at this point they're working full time. They don't have another job. And you already said to them, I said, listen, this is going to be hard work. Are you willing to put in the hard work? And they say to you, yes, I am. A week later comes back and they do something that we just did the math on is literally less than 7 hours of work. And they couldn't fit that into a 7-day work week at their disposal the whole time. What does that tell you right off the bat? Same thing for me. I'm thinking to myself, okay, I may have got an issue here. What I would say at that point, going through their checklist, I said, well, obviously, I don't think we're ready to get started in the second week, which is really where the money starts coming from. So why don't you take another week to get this done and let's reschedule. We'll jump on this next week at the same scheduled time because I've already got this scheduled out. And your conversation should be done. It's your time. They're not willing to do the work. Get out. Now, that seems harsh, but I want you guys to consider that at this point, until they prove their moxie, their ability to do the hard work, I will always stand on the side of your time is more valuable. You're a proven professional who is helping somebody else out. That earns you respect in my world. And they should show that respect to you. If they don't, then please get off the phone and say, you obviously haven't had a chance to do this. Let's get this done. We'll reschedule for next week. If you find that you get it done ahead of time, let me know and we can move that up and set a new time frame that we'll work on. But we can't go any further until you get everything done. You're setting two things as an example. First off, you're letting them know this is a standard that we're going to stick with. And you don't get me just to hold your hand when just a while ago, you committed to getting all this done. Now, I'm going to go back to this because let's pretend that they got everything done. And this is the important part. And this, I can go pretty quickly through this. So we're almost there. In every situation, I am looking for an opportunity to make sure that they have everything they need. Now they've done everything in that first week. They've checked everything off here. They've done everything on the all agents tab and gone through all of this. I am actually super pleased. So now I have that Hell Week conversation. This conversation is had at the beginning, but I like to have it with them. Hey, you're going into Hell Week and this is a test. Okay. I'm telling you, we're testing you because there's a lot going on. You're going to be, and tell them this, please tell them this. You're going to be wicked uncomfortable with quite a bit of this, and that's okay. And you're not going to be good at it. And that's actually the whole purpose. But during this week, and I kind of just touch base on what they're going to do. So you have to view 6 properties. I would encourage them to be vacant. And I want you to show them as if you got a buyer and walk around as if you're a real estate agent. Here's why. If they don't do that the first time they do that with somebody and they're the first time, well, I haven't gotten around to it yet, their back's going to be to them trying to figure out how to work the key, and they're going to smell new on them. They're going to lose that transaction. I don't want them to lose. So I'm going to push them a little bit harder now than I probably would if I didn't care, but I do. Now, a lot of times we had an excuse. Somebody gave me an excuse. Well, I was going to do it, but I didn't know how to use the super key. So there's an actual tutorial on how to use the super key. So they can never tell you that. View 6 properties, take the valuation class. It works for every MLS. It is a theory-based class. Take the contract class. If you don't have one in your state that is offered by the state, and they're offered by every state, look again. There's also another one you can take that's written in my state. It will work for most MLSs or for most contracts, but it's better to have it be a state-driven one. Encourage them to take that because they have plenty of time. And they're going to need to write contracts and value 2 of these 6 properties. Now, folks, to give them a little bit of excitement, a little bit of oomph, let them know, listen, if you have an opportunity, first homes you see, I'd love for you to see a couple of townhomes or a condominium that are vacant or some homes that are tract built. It's going to make everything easier for you. You can value the properties easier. We want them to win. But I tell them this, and I want you to as well. Remember, when you're writing those contracts, you're going to send those contracts to either me or to your mentor, depending on who's doing the mentoring. I prefer to keep it in-house. You only got to do this 40 times with 40 great agents. You're going to be surrounded by a partnership that you just won't believe. So I take this responsibility on myself. I said, send me the contract as if I'm the buyer signing it. Here's the theory behind all of this. I want to see them do it, and I know they're going to make mistakes, but I can help correct them. And I'm here to tell you that over the course of the 3 weeks, you have Hell Week and then week 3 and week 4. And again, we're almost done. Stick with me. That's viewing 18 properties, sending over 6 contracts and valuing 6 homes. I promise you, they will get very good at it very quickly. But the first week is hard, and they're going to try and give you excuses. And if you let them do that, we're going to fail them. Okay, so I go through this and I talk about Hell Week. Now in Hell Week, that first week, they also have to figure out what form of lead generation they're going to do. This is critical. They need to determine the 2 forms of lead generation. And they're going to need to tell you that at the end of week 2. What are you going to do? I'm going to do open houses and for sale by owners. Awesome. Here's the thing. If you identify what you're going to do, I can absolutely, without question, tell you based on your schedule, if you have designed it for success based on your goals. How many families do you want to help? What are the 2 forms of lead generation? What's the primary? What's the secondary? I know the breakdown of the time. I can set it up. Liz, you're on. I see at the top of my screen, so I'm going to call you out. Is there any way you would not be able to clearly help schedule somebody's schedule if you knew how they were what their 2 lead generations were going to be and how many contracts they wanted per year?
Absolutely. We're breaking it down super. We can break it down to what you need to be doing on a daily, hour by hour, minute by minute, because we have clarity on what your goals are, what you decided to do. It's very easy to break it down. It's just a matter of execution. Are you willing to put in the work to be able to reach that goal?
So that brings it. You're such a perfect straight person for me. I love this. This is awesome.
I'm so direct. I'm so direct. You guys know that.
I love it. But isn't it cool? I mean, think about this, Liz. So with that, we said, listen, I know what your schedule needs to look like. And then the next week when I'm talking to him about lead generating, it's simply a matter, did you follow your schedule? Yes. Okay. How many people did you speak to? Well, I didn't really call anybody. Aha. Now we have a solution because we identified a challenge. I'm not trying to bury them. I'm trying to move them along. And everybody's going to bring in an excuse, but it's either a really big one, which means they're not going to do the work, or it's a small one and we need to help them.
But there's also a difference too, right? Like if you hold yourself accountable, and this is something that I do with my coach, like I will go to my coaching calls and say, hey, I didn't hit my contacts this week. And I know that. So it's what I didn't do what I needed to do. So what do I need to do this upcoming week to readjust so that I can be back on track to hit my goals? So if you come from a place, from a mindset of, hey guys, I didn't do it, but I know I didn't do it, and you're upfront and you're not lying to yourself about it, you're going to see the difference in your business moving forward. I'm very direct. You guys know me. I don't think anybody knows that I'm not super like kind of in your face. Like I say what it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, hey, if you can do your job, like I can't control that. So we probably don't need to be having this conversation right now, because until you start doing that, like, it's just what it is. You're not going to hit your goals if you're not doing the work.
1,000. I thank you. I'm looking for an excuse. I'm looking for a way for them to have to take ownership for what they're doing. That's why we're asking them in week 2 to identify. So remember, week 2 is a crazy week, and it says right on there, it's 45 to 50 hours. Let them know you're going to be doing 100% real estate at this point, and it's going to be very awkward and very uncomfortable, and you're not going to like it. And you're not going to know exactly what you're doing, and that's okay. You got to fight through it. You're being tested. We are watching to see if you will do the hard work and are self-driven, and tell them that. Because most people don't want to fail in the eyes of being faced with a circumstance. And we don't want them to fail. We want them to succeed. But if they get through this second week and they don't do it, give them another week to do it. Say, listen, maybe you need another week, like we did the first time. You know, if you're not ready, haven't got it all done, maybe you need another week to get this done. You'd be amazed. I've had about 50% of the people don't even get through the second week. Like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. Well, fair enough. I'd rather know that now. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'd rather know that now than know that 6 or 8 weeks into it. And again, I'm saying this to you as well. And I mean this with every fiber of my body, until they prove that they're willing to do the hard work you're doing. Your time is more valuable because you have already passed the barrier of entrance. You're already in the, brotherhood, for lack of a better way of saying it. You've earned your stripes. They don't get to suck your time without doing the hard, uncomfortable work. There is a high, super high probability if they don't get the work done, they never will. It doesn't mean I sell them out. That does not mean, I am not implying that. I continue to give them the opportunity to recorrect. And sometimes, of course, I'll help more. And I encourage you to be as generous as your time permits. But I want you to have in your core that they have a job to do as well. And it's not you holding their hand. Unless you have a personal affinity and you feel that that's required, and by all means do so. I'm not telling you not to. I'm simply suggesting that I'm always going to protect your time first. So you go through Hell Week, you got to value properties, you got to see properties, you've got to write contracts on properties, you're going to get critiqued on the contracts and they're going to suck, but you know what? Next week they'll be better and you won't forget to miss that, and your dates will all match. And all of a sudden in week 3, when they're writing the contracts, their level of self-confidence jumps up to here. It's so much fun to watch. Now, remember, in week 3, they have to do one day, which is usually 2 to 3 hours of prospecting, or one day of an open house, or one day of for sale by owner calls. They have to start participating, and that's their big hurdle in week 3. They could see 6 properties. They could write the contract. They've already done it. They could value property, piece of cake. Ooh, I got to lead generate. And they got to build a buyer package, and it's given to them. Everything they need to start off, given to them. That's week 3. Week 4, they're full into. Now, at the end of week 3, I'm going to ask the question, tell me about your lead generation. How did that go? Because really, we know this. Once the skills are there, lead generation is the entire name of the game. And for anybody that says this, and you can tell them this is, I've worked this out. It's set up for Zoom calls specifically. Y'all pay attention. Look, eyes up here. Chris, that means walk into a poll, everybody. But if they say, well, I'm going to do social media. So, okay, I want you to run into the camera as fast as you possibly can. Unless they're going to do something like some of our superstars, but then they should be able to explain to you, this is my strategy, this is what I'm doing, and interrogate this. And I say that there are some people that can take social media and they can do it at a phenomenally high level, and I absolutely respect that. But do they have a strategy of who's the person they want to follow, and this is the outcome they want, and this is where they know it's coming from? If they say, well, I'm just going to post on social media, tell them, no, that's not an option. It's not lead generation. Claire, can I get a hallelujah? Oh my God, how many agents have you watched that say lead generation is what they're going to do, and they're 6 months later? Anyway, I think she's got, I may have caught her off the side. Bottom line is,
It all goes down to this, George. When situations of that occur, I always ask them, have your goals changed or your commitments to your goals changed? These are proven skills and proven routines that lead you to a pipeline of production and revenue that is beyond your wildest dreams.
Tiffany, in week 3, can you please add into there on line 38? If lead generation is not determined, ask if have their goals changed. I have just totally stolen that, Claire. I will give you credit for it. I usually don't when I plagiarize, but that is awesome. Have your goals changed is probably the strongest question. That's the most supportive I've heard. That's exactly.
And it has to be followed up, or your commitment to your goals changed, because then they're in the lead. You know, just like what Liz said, there's been plenty of conversations with some of my coaching clients. It's okay to change your goals. It's okay to change your commitment to your goals, because as a coach, it's about them. It's not about us. And it's okay to change that. So that's a very easy question to ask. Have your goals changed or your commitment to your goals changed? Show me what that looks like. Help me understand. And let's develop a plan together so that you can reach and exceed the goals that you have in place.
Yeah. Now, you obviously understand why everybody gravitates towards when Claire is speaking and not me, because she comes from a much more palatable and friendly way of saying it. Those are great questions, Claire. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Folks, week 3 is about the buyer presentation and them getting into some form of production. That's the whole purpose for it. They're going to rehone their skills. They're sharpening their actual lead generation skills. They're sharpening their skills for contracts, and they're creating a buyer presentation. In week 4, they're doing the same thing, except now they're going to create a listing presentation. And yes, it's been given to them. In fact, we're going to give everybody the pre-listing package, the buyer package, the listing presentation, the listing checklist presentation. We're going to do a live listing presentation. It's redone in Go. It's redone in the mentor program. It's over and over and over and over. A lot of the same thing with subtle differences so that the right tool falls in their lap. But it won't fall in their lap until they employ it, and they have to do the work. Now, this is what I consider mentoring. This is getting them ready to go. It's not fully the responsibility of the mentor in our world. The mentor helps them through the contracts. I personally think the mentor program is excellent, but it can be improved. I think coupled with the checklist, if you're taking responsibility or taking a little bit of ownership for an agent you sponsor, 30 minutes a week scheduled, how are you doing? What's your production, or how's your progress going? That's it. Please, if you take nothing else from this, schedule that 30 minutes a week. Newly licensed agent for at least 5 weeks. Experienced agent at least twice, 2 more times, 2 more weeks, just to help them get through it. What are your questions? Help them get acclimated. This will make a huge difference in their success, or it will minimize their failure time frame. Boy, that's a hard thing to say. Thing is, though, for some of us, we've watched it. Some of us may find ourselves in that position. And if you do, it doesn't change anything. You can change your position very easily. But you may find yourself saying, I'm not really doing what I should be doing. Maybe you go back and revisit this. Maybe you grab somebody, your sponsor, somebody said, listen, I want to send you 2 contracts a week. And I want, as if you're the buyer, and I want you to proof them for me. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. And I'm going to value 2 properties a week. And I just want you to help me with that, or have them talk to their mentor. If you feel that that's who you are right now, let's right the ship. Let's get this back in line so that you can progress. And if it's a new agent that we're sponsoring and we're bringing them in through this process, there's a 50% chance that they would rather know that this is not the best career for them up front. Because if we wait 4 months or 6 months and we don't really, and they're just hanging on and they're not really doing anything, it's not fair to them. It's psychologically not fair. Let's apply a little bit of pressure. with support, with nurturing, with caring, but also with accountability, and help them realize that for going through this progress, they will be better on the outcome by far. It's extremely easy to facilitate, which is the whole idea for all of you, the professionals, the people that care. Follow this. If it's not perfect, please let Tiffany know, let I know, let me know, because we'll change it. The latest evolution, this is 04/16/2023. This has been going on for years and years. We want it to be the best that's out there. If something's missing, let us know. We can fix it. You guys are the superstars. This is how I would encourage you to mentor as a basis. It's a good foundation. You're going to add your own. And we can make a huge difference in a lot of agents' lives. All right. I've got 3 minutes. I'm going to jump through this. Maybe a couple more did I lose Claire? I think I probably did. Yeah, she's out. She's got a call that I'm going to get on in just a couple seconds. I want to jump through. Tiffany, do me a favor, if you would. Can you read through the questions, see if there's anything I need to address real quickly? I want to let y'all know what's about to happen. So we've already started with TechBits. Dude, off the hook. Way to go, Rob. That's tomorrow. It's not recorded. You must be present. Do you have a friend in the industry that you know, somebody that you perhaps went to school with, perhaps somebody you do real estate with that would benefit from this? Every Thursday, we're starting this Thursday is Emerging Agent, the 6 or the 8-part series. It's a live series, and it's for the next 8 weeks with 1 week break because we've got the shareholders meeting here. Folks, invite somebody, have them come. We want to teach them. I'd love to talk to them afterwards. DJ would. I know that TechBits, well, let's leave Pierre out of this. His schedule is pretty crazy. He's a superstar agent. But we're here to help. Invite somebody that would benefit from this. You can share it around. It doesn't matter. None of this is private. We're about to blow this up. We're about to focus a ton of energy on our top leaders. These are the team leads, the best of the best agents, our icon agents. They're going to get some massive focus on here. And everybody is invited to those calls as well. Although if you're not at that level, you can't talk. You're not invited to talk because it's for them. We have not focused energy on building massive business, massive teams. Follow along, take a look at it. We're also going to spend a lot of time and energy on the agent who's selling 7 to turn it into 14, on how can we get our efficiencies up? How can we leverage other things at a fiscally financial cost to improve our business, to take our business from 7 to 14 or from 10 to 20? And of course, the emerging agent's going to be in there too. This is about growth, and it starts right now. And we are even more committed than we've ever been to making sure that you reach your goals and then expand them more. This is the time for us to take over the industry. Yes, it's a challenge. We're still doing multiple offers, but we can win, and we can win together. Tiffany, is there something I need to address? Awesome. I got to run. Have an amazing day. I'll see y'all tomorrow for TechBits. I will be there with pen and paper. Looking forward to the extra tips. I got a lot from last time. Don't forget to do your homework because I know it'll keep you accountable. Let's stop the recording. And then, Robert, if you got anything to add, I leave it to you, brother.